And feel free, if you want to introduce yourself in the chat room, you can. Let us know your name, what district you're from, maybe even what grade you teach. Feel free to do that. I am sharing my screen here with you. If you're new to Zoom, you can exit full screen so that you can have my screen on part of your screen and then have another window open to have a tab in it if you so choose. But again, introduction to Seesaw, I've got here until 2 o'clock, so I will try to honor that time. Here on slide 2, I've got the sign-in sheet. If for some reason you can't access this right now because you are full screen and you see my screen, I will put it in the chat room that you can click on that link to fill out. What it is a Google form. If I click on this link, it's a Google form. Again, it's us verifying that you are here with us in this workshop to get your 1 PD hour, and that will be coming from the ICANN ROE. So fill this out as well. If you fill it out now or at the end, it doesn't matter, but this will be just like if we were meeting in person and you filled out the sign-in sheet, that's what this is, but of course it's electronic since we're not together. Also, you've got the slide deck there. You can add it to your drive or bookmark it. If you don't know how to add it to your drive or bookmark it, stay on afterwards and I can go over how to do that as well. And then also here, I've got an evaluation for you to fill out. At the end, I think it's about 3 questions, if you could take time to do that. And then again, an ISB evaluation will come to you. Allow 24 to 96 hours for it to get emailed out to you, and that will be coming from the Iroquois Kankakee ROE 32. And then once you fill that out, that's when you'll get your evidence of completion. Then you can put your PD hours into your Ellis account. That is so important. And I don't know if you heard that if your certificate was up for renewal, that they did. If it expired June 30th, they are giving you an extra year to get all of your PD hours. So, but when you've got them, I would say go ahead and get them entered and renew. I will have this workshop recording here on my YouTube channel that you can access later as well. A little bit about me. My name is Lisa Schwartz. This is my 21st year in education. First 19 years, I did teach in the 6th through 9th grade classroom, and I taught various subjects. Majority of my time I did teach computers and computer science. And now I'm working for the Learning Technology Center as a regional ed tech coordinator. And I work with 10 ROEs here within Central Illinois and the school districts within those ROEs. So some of you may have seen me at other workshops or during this time of online learning. If you need to get a hold of me, here's my email address. Feel free to reach out. Would love to help out in any way possible. If you haven't heard of the Learning Technology Center, here on slide 4, this talks about how we are a program of ISB. So we're not a company trying to sell you anything. We're here just to help you in the classroom. And then here on slide 5, I've got some links here to the Learning Technology Center if you want to go take a look at it, take a look at some other workshops we've got, and again, another link to the YouTube channel and our community if you so choose to look at that. So again, feel free if you feel comfortable putting in chat what your name is, what grade you teach, and maybe what district you can. You don't have to, but that's there as well. So again, I have on the agenda is we're going to talk about Seesaw. Why should you look at using Seesaw, about creating a class, creating an activity, and then what students can do. In this hour-long workshop, we'll see what we can get through here. So I know the other day I had some Seesaw users in some of the other workshops. I wrote down your names in my notepad, but I don't know which page that was. If you're with us today, you want to let us know. Is it Grace and Stephanie? Are you guys with us today? So I see Stephanie's with us, and if Grace is too, and we talked about them sharing their experiences in the classroom as well with Seesaw. So hope to have time for that as well. So Seesaw, if you've never heard of it before, basically it's what it says right here on slide 7. It's a learning journal, and it's a place where kids can create and all of their work is saved. Seesaw uses the term journal. In my head, I use the term portfolio. It's a way, you know, one place that everything is saved, that they can see what they've worked on throughout the school year, and whether they, you know, put photos or drawings, uploaded things to it as well, put notes, links, or videos. So it's a, you know, all-in-one app out there that they can use. I've never tried this before, so bear with me. I'll go ahead and from the presentation mode, I'm going to play a video, and let me know if you hear the audio on it. If you don't, I'll just stop it and you can watch it later. But I think it's maybe a little bit over a minute long. And I just wanted to try out playing a video. And I saw this video, this kind of gives you some examples of using Seesaw on even Chromebooks here. How's the video or the sound?
My students use Seesaw to demonstrate and share their learning. We use it on our Chromebooks every day. It's really the best app I found for unlocking creative thinking and giving my students so many options to show what they know.
In science, we are working on a group project about the water cycle. We used a picture that I took last week at the beach to label 8 main steps of a water cycle.
My favorite example of figurative language on this page is shimmering veil of heat, which is imagery. Shimmering veil gives me a better picture of the kind of heat of that day, and it sounds cool.
So 3 times 2 equals 6. Okay, so my answer is 2 over 6, or 2/6. Oh, I can simplify that. Kunal has 1/3 of his flower left.
Seesaw really helps with classroom engagement because they're the ones showing their thinking and their learning. They're getting a chance to draw or take pictures and then go a step further and explain their thinking. And it really cements the learning.
All right, I love that example of that video because we got to hear from the students. Anytime we can incorporate, you know, students in our learning as teachers, I always love that. Maybe some people don't, but I do. So as you saw there in that video, we saw how students were manipulating, whether it was a picture, an image, and writing on it, or typing on it, drawing on it, and or if they took a picture of text and they were underlining it as well. So they got to engage in that as well. And I loved, you know, the multiplication one, how she explained, you know, her answer. She could reduce it, and it just seemed more real, and we could really see her understanding of it. And so you can do all of that in Seesaw. Do I work for the Seesaw company? I don't. Again, my background's in education, and I'm working, you know, for the Learning Technology Center. So, you know, teachers were asking, they wanted to learn more about Seesaw, so we wanted to introduce them to it to see if this is something they want to go further with this and take back to use with their own students. What I like about Seesaw is it does, you know, allow the students to give voice and choice. So not only are we seeing them complete their work, but we're getting to hear them complete their work, show us their understanding, and show us their thinking. So the tools that we've got, that Seesaw has available here on slide 11, again, you know, I'm referring back to that video I just showed, but, you know, we saw text. We saw that young boy interact with that text, and then also we got to hear his voice and how he found the imagery of that text. And what's nice about this is all of the tools are just right in that one app. And the app is the Seesaw app. So, besides the text, we've heard the audio, video. I don't think, when they do the audio, I think on some of the kids, we didn't see their face, but we heard them. We have the images and the drawing. So here on slide 12, again, all of the tools are housed in one location. So if you've been using Google Classroom with your students, whether in person or during remote learning, sometimes you have to pull in different extensions or different other apps out there to be able to do everything you want to do. Again, with Seesaw, everything's in-house. You don't have to put any add-ons or anything out there with Seesaw. And especially for the younger kids, that is easier and they can be more successful. I know sometimes with using some of these different apps that I have to pull in other extensions or add-ons to, that it's another step I have to do. So for example, if I needed to edit a PDF file, I need the extension Cami, the Cami extension here. So I have to then make sure I have that turned on, or make sure I have it on my extension list up here so I can then annotate on that PDF. You don't have to do that with Seesaw. Here on slide 13, similar to Google Classroom, if you are familiar with Google Classroom, you can assign work to certain students. Same thing here in your Seesaw classroom. I can assign this assignment to the students. Here's my students in my 3rd grade class. And do you see how I have Curtis and Patty unchecked? So I am giving all of these other kids this assignment, but Curtis and Patty, maybe I have to modify their assignment for some reason. So then they don't get this assignment, and then I can push out a different assignment to them, but it may look very similar. It just may have their accommodations on that other assignment. Here on slide 14, so I'm not going to be in presentation mode for the most part, because I'm not going to show you and talk through all of these slides on the slide deck. I'm going to switch over to the Seesaw and show you from the web page Seesaw. You can also access Seesaw from the app as well. Another thing out there with educator groups, I don't know if you're part of other educator groups out there. It's similar to a listserv, but whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, there's groups you can sign up for. And, besides Seesaw being popular, I don't know if you've seen other educator groups, if you are on Facebook, a Bitmoji and creating a Bitmoji virtual classroom, or there's Google groups out there as well. Well, Seesaw has one too. Again, people are sharing information, sharing whether it's questions or problems they're having, and you can learn from that. Right here, I did put in a doc here, Seesaw Activities Shared Doc. If you would like to open this, you should have editing rights to it, meaning you should be able to, let me pull it up here. If you click on it again, so you won't be able to click on it from my shared screen, but you could click on it from the slide deck that you have opened on your Google account. And if you want to put, your name here, Twitter handle, if you want to link to any Seesaw activities out there, because I know some people are joining us today that have been using Seesaw for a while, and I do hope to tap into you for some resources to share some information with us today during this workshop. But again, don't panic if you're new to Seesaw and you don't have any activities out here to share. I just put this in here in case if you did, because I realized we've got, like I said earlier, teachers that have been using Seesaw. One big thing that a lot of teachers are asking these days is they're being more aware of the data these different apps are collecting. If you click here on this privacy link, this will talk about Seesaw's privacy, that they do. They are compliant with FERPA, COPA, and the GDPR. If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't panic, because usually on the back end, your tech person will verify and make sure that these apps and these websites are appropriate for the students to use, because they do look at what kind of data they are collecting on students. So again, if for some reason you want to use a certain app out there and you can't find the privacy, you know, ask around, ask your tech person about it. And sometimes that's another reason why school districts usually don't allow you to download apps to your devices, because again, the school district's responsible for the technology you are using with your students, because in the end, they've got to verify to check what data these apps and tech companies are collecting, what data they're collecting on your students. This is another thing I always like to talk about too, is the pricing. Again, you'll see with many extensions, apps out there, there's a free version. There's Seesaw has a plus version, and then they also have a version for Seesaw for Schools, where schools have adopted Seesaw and have, you know, pushed it out to whatever grade levels they so decide. So it kind of tells you what you've got here. So with the free version, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. You can't, sorry, I keep on moving my mouse, it's very sensitive. You can have 2 teachers per class on a Seesaw free basic version. And so as you can see, you've got some tools there for free, but of course, the more you pay, you know, the more features you have. So how do I get started with Seesaw? So if what I'm going to talk about is getting started, I'm going to switch over to going to my Seesaw up here. To go to Seesaw from, you know, a tab, I'm using Google Chrome. I don't know. That's one thing I didn't look up to see if they recommend using Google Chrome or if other web browsers work as well. But if you just type in app.seesaw.me, that will take you to the class. Since I've already signed up for it and I have some classes created, I don't know if it's going to show you what I want to show you. I might switch accounts here. So here's one class that I've already got created here, and it's showing the journal from that class. But let me go and I might go to my personal account here and just go to the Seesaw and start over and show you. So if this is your first time going to Seesaw, what you would do, you could sign up for free here, and there's lots of resources and examples and activities out there that's available, especially if you're free. It will kind of guide you to get you started. So let me go ahead and sign up for free. Feel free to sign up for free too, if you would like to, and I'll walk you through all of this. Of course, my internet's a little bit slow right now. We gotta love this remote learning, right? Okay, so here, as a teacher, I would put I'm a teacher. If I'm a student, so, you know, walking your students through it, they would of course then hit I'm a student. But right now I'm going to walk you through I'm a teacher. So again, you do have to put your information in here. And I'll see if it works with a personal email. Or I guess right down here it says teacher sign up with Google. I don't know if it would, you know what, even though I'll just go ahead and hit create teacher account. Okay, an account with this email already exists. Okay, so I'll just hit sign in. Okay, so it wouldn't let me create an account like this. It wants me to sign in with Google. Okay, so I haven't created any classes yet with my personal account. So to create a class, all I would need to do is come up here and click on where it says Lisa Schwartz, the teacher, and it gives me create new class. So again, if you are used to the Google interface, some of this is very similar to Google, where in Google sometimes it has you clicking a plus to create something new. So when I hit that, what I can do, I can import from my Google Classroom. With my personal account, I don't think I have any Google Classrooms to import, or I can go ahead and just create the class. So on this one, I'm just going to show you to create the class. So I can name this, if this was my first grade class, I could put first grade. If I want to put the year, I can do that. And you can name it whatever. You can always change the name later. So don't be hung up on, for sure what you're wanting to name it. And then go ahead and choose my grade level first. And then if I have everything selected here, then this green circle with the white check mark in it is highlighted, and I can click on it, submit. I don't know if you saw before, I had selected first grade. This wasn't green, it was kind of grayed out. So go ahead and hit submit and create the class. It kicked me out. Okay. And so anytime they've got what's new, they put this up here and you can explore it. If you don't have time right now to look at it, you can just click out of it and you can explore it later. And right here, I've got my classroom then. So I'm going to switch back to my work account to look off of that then, and I can do everything else from there. I switched to the personal account to kind of walk you through on how to start off with Seesaw. So I've got my class here. Do you see I've got a couple students in there? At any time, if I need to add more students, so if you're asking yourself, well, how do you add students? If you come down here, and right here it says add students to your class. So I can just hit the plus sign and students. There's a few different ways I can add the students. On this class, I can email the students with instructions here if they have an email. If they don't panic. You can have them sign into, they can select their name when they sign into the class. But if I go here to edit students, here's where I can manage my students. And okay, so then I can edit that student. And did you see here, if at any time if I wanted to remove that student, I clicked on this arrow right here, I can remove student from class. I can also combine with other student journals with this student as well. But what did I do wrong? Why won't it let me add a student? Okay, I'll have to look at that, my apologies. Let me go to a different class here. So let's see if it lets me add students here. Okay. So right here, it lets me add students. I need to see why it doesn't let me add students on that other one. And right here, I can add students. Oh, I had imported that previous class from my Google Classroom. Maybe that's why. Here, I just put the students' names in. And so I can add the students' names right here and add student. Another thing you can do, if you look right down here, so you can add students one by one and it assigns them a picture. Again, I can click on this and I can change the icon if I want to. Again, I can remove the student, but I can paste a list of student names here. So one per line. So if I have the student names from a spreadsheet or someplace else, I can just copy and paste it, and it just goes in here, paste it in here, and then click the check mark here, and they will be added all at once. And that's what I did with this class. And so what I did with this third grade class, so for students to sign into this, and this, you'll have to explain this to the students as well, but you don't have to create this. Seesaw creates this for you, that it gives them step-by-step instructions, and it's visual, that they need to open the Seesaw class app. They can open it on, whether they're on even an Android phone or Apple phone, or they can go to this website to open it from the Chrome or Firefox browser. It does say that you can use the Firefox browser as well. With, you know, being a Google school, if many of you are Google schools, you might just want to get them used to opening it up on Google Chrome instead of Firefox. Again, depends on what your school is. Also right here it says then for the student to choose I'm a student, and what they can do if they don't have an email account, a Google account, depending on if you're working with little ones, they can scan this code using Seesaw's QR code reader, or they could type in this text right there. And again, this new text code, a new one generates every hour, again for security, because they want to keep this secure for the students. But the QR codes here, they do not expire. So that's how you get kids. Once you've added your class, you can add students in. So when I first set up my classroom, you know, I can add my students there, but then again, if you've got new students joining you at different times of the year, you can always go back and add students. Here on slide 20, again, there's different sign-in modes, and I just shared that a little bit. If they don't have email or Google accounts, then you can have them from the class code or from the QR scan code. And then also there's an option when you are setting up your class. Are the kids going to be accessing Seesaw through shared devices, or do they have one-to-one devices? So that's again on the setup screen when you're setting up your class in Seesaw. So you can set up folders, and let me show you how to do that, and then create activities. Again, if you are new to Seesaw, don't panic. You don't have to create all of the activities yourself. There's a wealth of different activities out there in the library that you can use. So kind of looking at this right now, once you've got your students added here, what you've got here, you've got the journal. And basically the journal is where, again, I think of the journal as a portfolio. It's where you can see the student work and what's been turned in. So if you go here to the activities, you can see the activities that have been assigned to the class. Whether this is what's been assigned, you can even schedule it, and you can even archive activities to the class as well. And right from here, you can browse the activity library. The third thing up here is the inbox. Again, here's where you can send announcements out. You can even send family announcements out as well. I'll just briefly talk about the skills. The skills part of this is in the paid version. You can try it for 60 days. And if you hit get skills, it does say that you can upgrade it and you can try it for 60 days. So what it ties it with the standards out there. So you can, again, show what standards these activities you are doing in your classroom and why you are doing them, because they tie in with the standards that we have to cover. So again, the skills part of it is only in the paid version, but if you want, Seesaw gives you 60 days if you want to try that for 60 days. Up here where you see this wrench, that is where the settings are. So just like in Google, they use the gear for settings, Seesaw uses this wrench here, and you can see the class settings. This is where you can change a lot of different things in your class here. So like I said earlier, class name, don't be hung up on what you want to call it. You can always come back and change it. Grade level, again, I put third grade, and let's say I need to change that to a different grade level, I can. Manage teachers, right here, this is where you can invite co-teachers. Again, with the free account, you've got a total of 2 teachers can collaborate on this class. Class theme, again, you can change the theme. class icon. So if I don't want the blue there, I can choose a different color. Students, so how I've got this classroom set up is the student sign-in mode, shared devices. Again, if I need to change that later on, I can. If, you know, let's say we share devices in the beginning, now we're one-to-one, then I can change that. So this was mainly for, you know, in the classroom when we did have shared devices that they could sign in using the QR or text student code. So you can see based off of your option right here of how you signed in is how they can then, if they use the QR or text code, or they can sign in by email or Google, or in this case, if they are one-to-one, they could even choose their name from the class list. So I'm not going to go through everything here in settings, but just know if you're trying to look for something or to do Seesaw, to do something, this is where it is here in the wrench under settings. The reason I went over here was to also then show you manage folders. So if you wanted to, you can create folders. So this third grade classroom, I teach, you know, math, science, writing. If I teach a bunch of different subjects, I can have a folder where all of the activities for science goes in that one folder. All of the math activities are in one folder. So again, this is another way to manage and organize your activities within Seesaw by creating folders. I can just come down here, hit the plus sign, create a folder, give it a name. Again, click this arrow here, and here's where I can change the color. So again, you can change the way it looks at any time. So this was under settings. Right here also where it says show add to folder step. Do I want students to be able to organize their activities? If I do, I select students and teachers. If I only want teachers and I don't want kids to have to worry about organizing their activities in a certain folder, I can just put teachers, or I can put never. So again, however you have this set up, you might have to explain to the kids what they're able to do as well. Stephanie, are you able to talk? Can you, or anybody else, can you let us know, do you like using folders for your students?
I did not use folders when I used it with my second grade class. I just never really got around to trying them. Okay.
But do you use folders for yourself, and did you like organizing it that way?
Yeah, I did a little bit for me. That just kind of helped me keep track of things. A lot of the activities that I used, especially to start, were the ones from the community, like the ones that were already on there. So it kind of just made them a little bit easier to get to.
Okay, perfect.
This is Jeannie. I used folders in my first grade class, and I think I remember I skipped the prompt of adding to a folder because they could still add it to a folder. It seemed like it made it a little more complicated, but my first graders learned how to add like math to their blue math folder. The color really helps.
Yeah.
And it just made it easier on my end when I wanted to check activities. I didn't have to search through the whole scroll of everybody's portfolio entries. So I really liked the folders, and the kids liked it too. They were really quick how to put it in the right folder. So.
Yeah, and like you said, first graders could do that. So yeah, thank you, Jeannie, for stepping in. I was going to ask you because I saw you had posted things in chat. So I'm glad you said that they do recommend Chrome.
And I put in the chat. You can print out little posters of your QR code, and I had them laminated and just put them around the room. So if they needed to scan back in, they could.
Okay, nice. I like that. I like that idea. And you laminated them, right? You said?
Oh, yes, for first grade, definitely. It lasted all year.
Oh, well, good. Because like it said, the QR codes stay the same. So yeah, perfect.
And we have iPads, and so it seemed like once they're logged in, it kind of just stayed logged into Seesaw. Like they didn't have to scan too often anyway. So.
Okay, and were you one-to-one or?
No, we're not.
No. Okay, and that's fine. A lot of people aren't. So that's why Seesaw does have the ability for you to, have shared devices, and like Jeannie just said, that they could, they stayed logged in, and they just went and selected their name when they got the device. Did you have any problems with the kids selecting the wrong name?
No, not really. And even if they did, you can send it back to the right person anyway. So
Yeah.
There's a workaround, but no, for the most part, they didn't. And even with shared devices, it worked okay because not everybody was ready to put something on it at the same time. So
Yeah, because you usually in the younger grades, yeah, having stations or things. So yeah, perfect. So let me jump back here to Seesaw then. So what I kind of went over was, you know, the interface for the teacher side of it. So then what does it look like when students are entering things? So, or how do you assign assignments to them? So right here with the activities, let me switch back to my Google 101 class here. Why is it called Google 101? Because what I did, I imported my Google Classroom. I synced it with my Seesaw. Why did I do that? Just to show that you can, it does play nicely on the back end with Google Classroom, that if you already have your kids in your Google Classroom, if you use Google Classroom, if you don't, that's fine. You don't have to use Google Classroom to use Seesaw, but they do sync over. And that's what I imported my students for my Google Classroom. And this is just a example class that I had. So what you're seeing right now is, you know, the journal. And I think, I can't remember if Jeannie or Stephanie said, I think it was Jeannie, about using folders, is instead of scrolling through all of this, she would go to the folder to look at the assignments, and you can do that as well. So if I go right here, this is Blake turned this in about this green eggs and ham. So if I, Seesaw has an example of the sample student. I'm just so used to, and my background with Google, that I can't see a sample student. So I'm used to going to the student side of it. So let me go to Blake's account here. Maybe I don't have it pulled up. So Blake is the student. Oh, I do. It's just on the other screen. And here is his Seesaw account. He's got, if he goes here to his activities, it's saying there's no activities, waiting for a response. He's already completed everything there. If he goes to his class activities, here's what he needed to do. It says right here he's completed it. And if he wants to, he could respond again. How Seesaw's got this set up. This activity I got from the activity library, but here it tells him the activity is about describing himself. And so what he will need to do is add describing words to his photo to tell about himself, add the add response or add button when he's ready to add that. He can take a photo of himself, and then I'm not going to read the rest of these, sorry. Then it tells him step by step what to do. And what I like about this is they have the icons there for those visual learners. And sometimes, again, we think, oh, it's nice to have that for the younger learners, but me as even an adult learner, I still like to see those icons. So coming up here to the green eggs and ham by Dr. Seuss, if he wants to respond again to this, he can. But before he responds to this, let me go ahead and close out of it. I can delete and start over. Do you see right here, it says tap the link to listen to the story. So again, you know, when you're first using this, you might have to, you know, walk through this and explain to the students, you know, the activity and how to follow along with the instructions here. Again, some kids are natural at this and they don't have to, you know, they don't need that direction from you. But then once they've listened to the story, then what they can do is, again, since he's already responded, he could respond again. But if not, he could have tapped on that to start. So he gets this activity on here. If he wants to, here's the tools. He can annotate. Here on the left-hand side, he can put a text box there. He could do a voice recording of himself. He could take a photo. If you click on these three dots here, he can add shapes or even a background to this. If he needed to, he could come up here and hit View Instructions. and he can see the instructions there again. He doesn't have to X out of this and go back to the instruction page. It's just right there. Down here, again, he's got, if he needs to draw on this, he can choose the color he wants. And he chose, is that the pencil? And he can write on here whatever he needs to do. He can, you know, highlight. I don't know what all of these are called. Marker, a fine point marker, highlighter, the eraser. So you've got some other options there. If you come up here, you know, if he wrote on here and he doesn't want it anymore, he can undo. But all he really has to do on this assignment is what it says here. Would you eat green eggs and ham? Why or why not? And record yourself. And it, again, then it shows, come over here and hit record yourself. And it's saying, hey, it gives you a countdown. It starts recording. And then up here, it shows that, you know, with the red bar, it's recording. If he wants to pause it, he can pause it here. And then it shows how long he's been talking. When he's done, all he has to do is hit done. And then here it's got his voice. He can play it to listen to it to see if he likes it. If he doesn't like it, he can go and re-record it if he would like. Again, if he doesn't like it, he can come up here and hit undo and it goes away. And then again, we could add a voice caption down here as well. This was with the quotes. So what's nice about this is everything is in one place. You don't have to add, you know, as far as the tools, you don't have to go out and add different extensions or apps to be able to do this. I know a lot of people are doing screencasts of, you know, their screens. Again, they don't have to use any extensions out there like Screencastify, or there's multiple different screencast extensions out there that you could use. You've got it all built in here within Seesaw. So then once he's got this done, all he has to do is click the green check mark and then it will upload. So even though he's already turned one in, he can turn in another one if he so chooses. If you look right here, it says waiting for teacher approval. So for it to you know, list on the journal page there of the class, the teacher has to approve it. He's got, Blake also has some notifications up there here. He's got 2 notifications. I don't know if that's from his inbox. Oh, because I did make a comment on his assignments as well too. Let me just go back here. So here's his journal, what he's, I'm back in the, no, I'm still in the, I'm back in the classroom journal. It's not showing his other one because the teacher hasn't approved it. I'm still on the student side of it. So here on the teacher side of it, I've got, you know, here in the journal, I've got what's here. Then I need to go up here and see to approve. I've got one unapproved post. So what I can do, I can hit review and it can show. So I might have, again, several unapproved items at one time. Here's what Blake submitted. If this is good to go, I can approve it. I could also hit like. I can put a comment to it. Again, I can see the skills that are tagged with it. If I've got the other versions that aren't the free version. And then I can also add it to a folder if I've created a folders. If not, I can create a folder. So with this classroom, I haven't created any folders. Again, here, the teacher side of it, I've got 3 dots here. What can I do with this? Once he's turned it in, I can, if I need to edit item, edit people, edit folders, I have all of these other choices here as well. If for some reason, if I need to delete this, I could even delete this assignment. And, you know, if I see that he turned it in already once and this one, there's nothing on it, I could go ahead and just hit delete because I don't need to add this to the journal. So delete where it cannot be recovered. We'll go ahead and hit delete. And then, oh, the time is going way too fast. Let me show you So, I mean, I think the best way to do this is explore, create a classroom out there and assign different things and see what's out there. Here, in the My Library part of it, this is what some of the activities I've added to my library. How can I get these activities that are out there? And I think Stephanie even talked about, getting the activities out there. I can search right here. So here's remote learning activities for 4th grade. I don't know if I put, for this classroom, I must have put that it was 4th grade. Even if it is 4th grade, I can still go to other grades and look at the activities out there. And, just getting started with Seesaw with your students, there are different activities out there that they could do. This one, describe yourself, what I showed you in the beginning, that, they take a picture of themselves and then they can then put text boxes there. And in those text boxes, they can type the words. There's a math work here that they can do. So feel free. You don't have to, one thing I like about Seesaw is you don't have to come up with all of these activities. There's lots of different activities out there. As you can see, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get through slide by slide. I did talk about some of these here. If you see some of these, they may have some links to other resources out there, but I want to scroll down here. So if you look at some of these different slides, here's some different examples out there that of student work that you can see. And then again, even when they are doing subtraction, you can see how they did it here, but then they could do a voice recording of explaining this, like what we saw earlier in that video. I have too much on here. Here on slide 59. So, if your school district's looking at whether to implement Seesaw versus Google Classroom, here's some research out there that you can look at, remote learning with Seesaw. So here's some other links here. If you do want to learn more about Seesaw and start using it in your classroom, my suggestion is click on the Seesaw Pioneer. And what this program does is it walks you through, it's got some short videos, it walks you through some of the basics of Seesaw. So again, if you are learning about Seesaw and wanting to see, should we incorporate this? Should we use this with our students? Take a look at this. This should take you less than a couple hours to go ahead and look at becoming a Seesaw Pioneer. Does it matter that you become a pioneer? May or may not, but again, I like going through looking at the Seesaw Pioneer because it walks you through some of the things you need to know. I want to give time to Jeannie, Stephanie, and anybody else who joined us. Talk about your Seesaw with your students, pros and cons, how many years you've been using it, anything you want to share with us.
This is Jeannie. I've been using it several years. The only thing, like in 1st grade, you have to be careful when they're recording. They have to learn to find a quiet place to record or to speak really loud, because if a lot of kids are doing recording, which is something we do a lot because they're not really good at typing and all that yet, it can get kind of crazy. So, but they learn how to do that. So we use it a lot in math. I'll have them like solve a problem 3 different ways on their desk using whiteboards and cubes and all sorts of things.
Okay.
And they then record that and tell me how they did each problem, which is really a great way to informally assess how they're doing without having to be, you can't be at each kid all the time. So it works really great for that.
Oh, I like those ideas.
And I like being able to sit at home in my chair, in my recliner, to review all of the things that they did during the day. It's really nice.
I like that. And does your school, do you have the free account? Do you have the?
I just have a free account.
Okay.
There are, limitations, like you can only save so many activities into your library. You can't, of course, as you can see on that checklist, you can't access a lot of the things, but the free has done really well for me for the number of years I think I've used it. Maybe
Yeah.
4 years at least now. So.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you shared that with us, because sometimes we think, oh, we need to get the paid version, but again,
we're pushing for paid.
okay.
Trish is on that.
Okay.
I'm working on it, Jeannie, I promise.
Thank you.
For me, I used Seesaw when I taught second grade. I used it for probably about 1.5 years. I kind of started in the middle of the year. And we did a lot of the same. We did a lot of recording things. My kids like that. Sometimes I would have them partner up to record just because like one could hold we had iPads. So one would sometimes hold the iPad and then like a student was either showing me work and talking about it, things like that even, or we had trouble. We did Daily 5 also. One of the big problems we had was students staying on task during centers. So there was one point in time where I had them start, they would set up their iPad and do like a video to me of them reading to their partner to show me that they were actually like on task. And even though I couldn't hear them the entire time reading, they kept them on task because they knew I was watching it. I did use a lot of the community assignments on there, but I used them more as like practice. So I would find like math, addition, subtraction, things like that. And I would put them on there and they would just kind of work. Like if they finished early, they could go check Seesaw. And if they had assignments not done, they would do them like in their free time. So it wasn't necessarily like every day they were finishing something, but I would leave things on there to kind of let them have things to do in their free time. The biggest thing for me, the advantage of it was that it is all in one place. Like we already talked about, just the fact that it's all right there, especially with like the younger kids, because they were able to get on it and find the things they needed. But since they could just easily find it in the one app, that was the biggest benefit in my classroom. And we did have a lot of parents, like most of my parents were signed on and they could see their students' pages. So they would sometimes comment on things, or usually I would try like once a week. I'd sometimes give them free time where they would add to their journal and like draw a picture and tell me about it like as a writing project. And a lot of times I'd have kids draw things to like send to their parents. They'd make sure their parents then saw it. So that was just another thing. They knew their parents were checking it as well as me checking it.
So they had an audience. It wasn't just
Right.
turning it into the teacher. Okay. Yeah, thanks for all of this insight. What are your questions out there? For those of you who haven't used Seesaw before, or if there's anybody else with us today that has used Seesaw, you want to unmute and talk to us about your experience with it. So again, if this was your first time with being introduced to Seesaw, what do you think? Is this something that you would like to try and learn more about, or you're thinking, no, you're going to stick with other platforms?
I think it's something that I could truly try. It looks user-friendly enough. That was my biggest worry, is that it would be another website to have to try to figure out and then try to teach them to figure it out on top of it. So I think it looks user-friendly. I'm ready to give it a whirl to see if I could play with it some more.
Okay, good. And yeah, working with teachers, they find helpful, it's already all set up. Go through that Pioneer program Seesaw has, and then they connect you to other resources out there and educator groups. So I don't know if Jeannie, if you've been part of any of the other educator groups since you've been using Seesaw for 4 years.
I belong to Teachers for Seesaw on Facebook. There's one for, I think, pretty much every grade level on there, with just tons of sharing going on back and forth, and so that's really good. But just the library that's in Seesaw, just that resource is really great. new stuff is being added to that all the time. So
Yeah, and it's finding time to go through all of that as well. Yeah.
yes, but it is really easy to teach kids how to use it. It doesn't take too many times before they figure it out, and they really enjoy it. They like being able to talk and share and draw and do all the things that they can do. And like the other gal was saying, it's easy because everything is right there that they need, all the tools that they need. So
Lisa or whoever else, is there any way to transfer like Google Docs or PDFs into Seesaw? Because I know that's how in second grade we have all of ours like linked into a Google Doc. So we're kind of, you know, trying to lean toward Google Classroom, or now we're like looking into Seesaw. We just kind of want to know an easiest route for us. So is there a way to add in any of that into like our own resource bank?
Stephanie or Jeannie, have you found it easy to do that?
So for me, so are they like, those are assignments that you've already created, but in Google?
Right, either they're from a Google Doc or I've made it a PDF and then linked it into a Google Doc.
So on Seesaw, I could be wrong. I haven't used it in a couple months, but you can post, like, you can add just a link that the kids can then click on, and it will take them to either linked sites or things like that. Otherwise, you can upload pictures of different assignments. Like, so for us, we had, at the time, our reading was a lot of like workbooks. And I started just taking a picture like on my phone of the worksheet we were going to do that day. And I would post it to Seesaw. And then the kids could use like the pen or the writing option, and they could write or they could type on top of the picture that I had taken. And then we also sometimes they could complete a worksheet and send me a picture. So if you have it as a PDF, there should be a way to either for you to upload it, or if it's a linked website, you should be able to post the link where they could click on it and it would then take them to that site.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. That's what I was going to suggest as far as taking a picture of it. But yeah, I think there is a way. If you go, I didn't show you this. So I'm in my class here. If I go to create a new activity, or I guess I'm in my library, my apologies. Let me go back to my class here. So I can create a new activity when I'm in my library, or I can go to that from my class. So when I'm in this class, if I go to the add, I can post student work here. I can assign an activity right here. And I guess when I assign an activity, it does go to my library. I can create the activity right here. I can give it a name, type the instructions here for the students. I can add even voice instructions. Again, for the littles who maybe can't read my instructions, I could add some voice instructions as well. Again, I can also add multimedia instructions or an example. And then I can even have a template for student response. So if I just put math facts here, I can type out my instructions here. I think I have a link in here of icons that you can use from, oops. Sorry, I just saw that spelling mistake. I don't know, I guess I don't see it. There's an icon sheet, and I can maybe get that in there too, that you can, there's a code for you to put in there, and then it changes your instructions to that picture of that icon. When you put this in the instructions, just like what we saw in some of the other examples, it showed the picture of the microphone to record a voice. There's just, you know, a simple code for you to type in there for your instructions. You can add a template for student responses. Do you have to add the template here? You don't. The students can add the template when they are doing the assignment here as well. One thing here where it says add pages, you can only add pages if you have the free version. So again, if you try to add the pages here, it won't let you. It'll say, hey, sign up for the free version of 60 days. So just know that you only get one page right there as well. But so then if I just click the green or the check mark there, here's the activity. I didn't put any instructions in, but if I hit save, it then will be pushed out here to my library, and I've got this activity out there, and then I can assign it. But yeah, Michelle, I like that question. I thought I saw somewhere, if someone has had any time to Google that to find out about how you can upload that Google Doc, let me know, or put it in chat or unmute yourself, that's fine. But I do realize I'm past time, my apologies. Again, this could have easily been a 2-3 hour workshop, but if this is something that you do want to learn more about, my suggestion, go look at the Seesaw Pioneer, or go look at the different activities, click around. I've got some links in here for some other things. Again, also here on the slide deck are, links of different activities and what the different icons represent. Because see, yeah, I think Stephanie talked about this. You can bring in artifacts from other environments by sharing it with the link. So I guess that's the best way to do that with your Google Doc, Michelle, is make sure the sharing properties are turned on and who can access it, and then just share it as a link within your Seesaw assignment.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I just don't want them changing it,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'm sure they would only accidentally change it. So just don't.
Right.
Yeah. Great question. So I do respect your time. If you need to go, that's fine. Go. If anybody wants to stay on and talk more, we can. If you do go, here's an evaluation to complete, but I think it's 3 questions, and then Patty also will be sending the ISB evaluation hopefully by the end of the week. But hopefully it didn't overwhelm you, but gave you some resources out there to look more into Seesaw and maybe jumpstart your learning with Seesaw.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So can students, they can record themselves in Seesaw, right? They don't have to like upload a video recorded somewhere else?
That is correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It makes things simple. And even, sometimes even for us adults, the simpler, the better. So.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. But if you guys want to, ask Stephanie, Jeannie more questions, or anybody else on here. Stephanie and Jeannie, you didn't realize I was going to volunteer you here, but I always think it's good for people to be able to ask other people questions. So feel free, if you guys have time, to stay on if other people have questions, even for you guys. Yeah, Aubrey, there is a link for the sign in. It was on slide 2, but I can put it in the chat. That just click on that link, and that will take you to a Google form to sign in. So perfect. All right. Well, it doesn't seem like anybody else has questions, or did I miss anything in chat? Again, thank you, Stephanie and Jeannie. I think Jeannie's already signed off here, but thank you for sharing your story. And I will go ahead and end it. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.